This training video is brought to you by K-Alliance. K-Alliance provides high-quality instructor-led training videos for desktop, IT, and soft skills. Visit us online at www.kalliance.com to sign up for your free 7-day trial. Be sure to like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thank you for watching, and we hope you learned something new. Real videos, real learning, real success.
In this lesson now, we want to look at and show you how to create business unit clouds. So first we'll just talk about what is a business unit cloud, and then we'll look at configuring cloud capacity as well as configuring cloud capabilities. So what is a business unit cloud? Well, first of all, it's a combination of resources that are permissioned to a business unit for the purpose of easy deployment. So what does that mean? Well, we've been talking all along about a private cloud, and a private cloud infrastructure being perhaps a centralized data center, maybe more than one data center, but a central data center full of resources that can be rapidly allocated and reallocated and combined in different ways to provide service that is needed for certain subscribers. Well, the subscribers could be, an individual application owner who just needs an application to run within the cloud or something like that. But a business unit would be a subscriber. So I've described previously, I work primarily in the banking world, and so we might have in one of the big banks that I work at, we might have different business units like a sales division. We may have an investment banking division, a retail division, and so on. And each of those oftentimes are managing their own resources from an IT perspective. They just have very different needs, different services they need and interact with. There are some core sort of global infrastructure resources that are budgeted for the entire organization, but then every business unit has its own budget and its own IT in essence. So a business unit cloud, when we're dealing with Cloud Fabric, we are talking about then saying, okay, well, what is the overall resource that a particular business unit needs? And we're not going to build a completely new cloud just for them. We are going to take from within this existing private cloud infrastructure, we are going to slice off a certain necessary amount of resource. We're not going to give them completely their own System Center Virtual Machine Manager environment, for instance. We're not necessarily going to give them all of the different System Center infrastructure components all to themselves and build it all over again just for them. However, they may have budget for their own set of hosts, or perhaps just an allocated amount of resource. If it's not dedicated hosts, it might just be a certain amount of resource that they need at a minimum. And so we slice that off and we make that a part of their business unit cloud. So it's all part of the same VMM, all part of the same System Center environment, and they're all hooked into that same environment, but some resources are for this cloud, some resources are for that cloud. And they don't see each other, they don't interact with each other, and we can kind of control it, and we can guarantee levels of service. We can report differently for that business unit cloud, as opposed to reporting for the other business unit cloud, and so on. And so it allows us, with a single set of System Center infrastructure, to manage many different resources that might belong to different groups. So the resources that you see listed here are the kinds of things that can be incorporated into a business unit cloud. I can dedicate hosts. I can have certain virtual machines that are part of a certain cloud environment. The update services that we manage, we can control the updates to a cloud in a certain way. Now, we're not necessarily going to deploy separate update mechanisms for each business unit. We might have one update mechanism, but we can control the updates that go to one cloud and have that be totally different than the updates that go to another cloud. So each business unit cloud can have its own control over that. Then there's a lot of these profiles. We'll talk more about profiles in detail later. But you have application profiles, hardware profiles, guest operating system profiles, and something called templates. These are all similar types of resources that allow us to predefine in our library, the System Center library, those building blocks for cloud elements. So it could be a hardware profile as an example. I define, here's a profile of a machine that has 4 gig of RAM and needs 2 logical CPUs and 2 network cards. Those are hardware elements. Well, instead of creating a new virtual machine, and every time I create the new virtual machine, I pick and choose how much memory, how many CPUs, and how many network cards before I click Finish, I just pull from a template where I've predefined all of that. That becomes especially helpful when we start to get into self-service deployment, where we don't give people access or the ability to set it up any way they want. They have to choose from certain predefined profiles or templates. The same would be true for guest operating systems, where it includes in there the operating system profile for product key and whether it should join a domain or stay in a work group. Some of the operating system configuration elements can be saved in that profile. Application profile, same thing. But in this case, it's going to define things like I need a IIS server, I need a web server. And in that web server, here is the actual application code that I would like to be injected into that web server. It could be .NET code. So combining application profile, hardware profile, and guest operating system profile, I can rapidly create new virtual machines that run the applications exactly the way that I need them to. They're predefined in my library. Now, how does this relate to business unit? Well, every business unit will have its own templates and its own profiles that they can utilize and control and manage for their cloud, each to its own. And the same would be true for storage. It's the last cloud resource that can be allocated to a business unit. How much storage do you need for your business unit? And which storage elements did you pay for and should only be available to your private cloud, as an example. Now, configuring cloud capacity. We can limit the resources that are used by a business unit cloud. So not only do we have a certain amount of resources available in the entire cloud infrastructure, we can then put quotas and limitations on each business unit cloud as a way to control it until they pay more, perhaps. When they do pay more out of their cost center, we'll allocate more. So we have that level of control. So we can limit resource usage by how many CPUs, memory, as in RAM, storage, and storage allocation can be limited. We can really define some very custom quotas in here in terms of how we are going to limit them. And we can even limit them to a certain amount of virtual machines even. To say, you can't have more than this many virtual machines until you perhaps pay for more. Now, all of this is managed through the VMM console. We create our business unit clouds through the console, and then we configure the cloud capabilities through the console. And we can make those things available. Virtualization host, compatibility settings, processor ranges, memory ranges, hard disk counts. All of the configuration settings we might do for individual virtual machines, we can do them for the cloud. And we can manage them there, including networking, ranges of MAC addresses that we want them to work with within their cloud, availability like high availability, clustering, failover and failback capabilities. Again, all of those capabilities managed through the VMM console and for each individual business unit cloud.
We hope you enjoyed this preview video. Please click on the like button below if you did and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be sure to visit us at www.kalliance.com to sign up for your free 7-day trial today. You could learn a lot in a week.